Have you ever wondered why certain sounds don't just enter your ears? They ripple through your chest, your spine, your soul, as if they are not entering you, but returning to you. These are not ordinary sounds. They are carriers of remembrance. And among the most sacred, the most hidden, there is one sound, a sound whispered by Thoth into the golden silence of the inner temple, a sound so precise that it needs only to be used once with pure awareness to change the geometry of your energy forever. If your spirit feels stirred by this already, type Ashitwait in the comments. Claim your vibration before the noise of the world tries to take it back. Subscribe now. This is the knowledge the ancients guarded with their lives, and today it returns to you. Before the pyramids sang their last tones into the desert wind, before breath became bound by language, the priests of Thoth knew how to shape reality with frequency. Not through effort, through alignment. Thoth did not speak in commands. He sang in codes. He carved truth not into stone, but into vibration. And at the center of this mystical symphony, he left behind a single frequency, one sacred sound, encoded to awaken those ready to carry light through chaos. You do not need to chant endlessly. You do not need to force silence or empty your thoughts. What you need is to enter resonance, that rare stillness where the mystical sound of Thoth can meet your original frequency without interference. Because this sound was not designed for the ears, it was shaped for the memory of your cells. It vibrates beneath your conscious mind, unlocking the hidden vaults where your soul encoded its purpose before incarnation. This sound, ancient and unpronounceable in modern tongue, was not meant to be broadcast. It was meant to be received. It begins in the root and rises like a serpent made of golden light, weaving up the spine in spirals, kissing the heart, clearing the throat, and opening the gate behind the brow where Thoth himself sits in silence. When you allow it, this sound becomes a current, electrical and holy, realigning every system, not by force, but by remembrance. Modern science calls it the 0 point, the still center, the field where all potential lives, untouched by resistance. Thoth called it the womb of all light. This is where the sound was born. Not from a mouth, but from the origin of vibration itself. When you use this sound once correctly, you do not need to repeat it. You've stepped into the field. The field remembers you. The field rearranges everything around you to match the tone of who you really are. Many hear sounds. Few become them. When you vibrate the mystical sound within you, you become a tone the world cannot distort. You walk into chaos and remain untouched. You stand inside fear and carry peace. You move through noise, but your presence sings something ancient, and the universe responds, not to your words, but to your resonance. To prepare the vessel, the body must first empty its stored interference. That means breath. Long, deep, solar breaths. Inhale as if the stars themselves are pouring into you. Exhale as if the weight of lifetimes is falling away. With each breath, you are tuning back the harpstrings of your spirit. And when the sound comes, it will meet you not in confusion, but in perfect harmony. This is why the sound is used only once. Because the moment it is received correctly, it completes a circuit. A circuit between the divine mind of Thoth and your own inner flame. This is not metaphor. This is sacred science. Cymatics shows us that sound organizes matter. The mystics knew this long before microscopes. With the right vibration, the chaos inside you becomes sacred architecture. And what of emotion? Emotion is the ink in which your frequency is written. Fear muddies it. Grief distorts it. But stillness sharpens it like crystal. That's why the mystical sound only works when you are willing to listen from the inside. It enters not through the ears, but through surrender. You don't chant it, you become it. That is the return. You were never meant to speak like everyone else. Your voice, in its original state, was an instrument of activation, not performance. Thoth taught that sound was not for communication alone, but for creation. He taught that when a being remembers their frequency, they no longer ask for reality to respond. They command it by resonance, not through ego, through alignment with divine geometry. And this mystical sound, the one hidden in the silence between heartbeats, holds the blueprint. Do not confuse volume with power. The mystical sound is not loud. It does not demand space. It creates it. It doesn't move with force, but with law. It pierces distortion, like light through fog. Not because it pushes, but because it knows itself. And when you carry it in your field, others feel it without understanding. They pause, they stare, they soften, because something ancient in them recognizes it, though their minds have forgotten. Energy always obeys resonance, no exceptions. And so the question is not, what do I want to create? But rather, what am I vibrating right now? If you are vibrating fear, no amount of effort can override that frequency. But if you remember the sound within, if you retune even one moment of your day back to that sacred note, your reality begins to bend, not by desire, but by design. Thoth taught in silence more than in symbols. His most powerful initiations happened in the void beneath the ground, within chambers that echoed with stillness. The sound he left behind was not spoken aloud in front of many. It was passed in breath, in gaze, in vibration. The initiates who received it often wept, not because it was loud, but because it reminded them of home. They remembered their divine role as bridge between heaven and earth. This sound was encoded not just into the air, but into your very structure. The bones hold resonance. The fluid of the spine acts like a tuning rod. The heart chakra is not a metaphor. It is a harmonic amplifier. And when you breathe into the heart while remembering this sound, the field around your body expands. Not metaphorically, literally. Studies in heart math have shown this, ancient wisdom meeting modern science, both pointing to one truth. You are a walking temple of vibration. The forgotten sound cannot be written with letters, but it lives as a feeling tone, an emotional geometry that moves through the breath. You'll know it when you find it, because everything in you will go still, like the world is holding its breath to listen, like the divine is leaning in. This stillness is not emptiness. It is readiness. The soul only speaks in stillness, and the mystical sound of Thoth can only emerge from stillness. You are not here to master words. You are here to master energy, and all energy responds to vibration. It always has. Your ancestors didn't chant to be spiritual. They chanted because they understood sound as a spiritual technology. They weren't just praying, they were programming. The sacred syllables were codes, and those codes reshaped water, fire, emotion, even memory. And now, it is your turn to remember that ancient art. In modern life, the vibration of the world is fractured. Screens flicker. Voices shout. The nervous system is overstimulated. The breath forgotten. But within this chaos is your invitation to pause, to remember, to whisper the unspoken sound back into your being, even once, just once, with full presence. And in that one moment, something in your timeline bends. The fog lifts. The deeper path reveals itself. That is the secret Thoth guarded, not because it was forbidden, but because it required readiness. And readiness begins with stillness, with a breath that is not rushed, with an emotion that is not judged, with a heart that dares to ask, what did I come here to remember? When you ask from that place, the sound will come, not from outside, but from the deep well of silence that's lived in you all along. You do not find this sound. You become it. And once you do, it becomes your signature, your frequency, your presence. And the world, like an ancient lock waiting for a key, begins to respond. There is a reason this sound was hidden, passed only in chambers beneath the sand and stars. It is not fragile. It is precise. Like a tuning fork forged by the gods themselves, it requires no explanation, only alignment. It is not meant to entertain the intellect, but to bypass it. The mind wants language. The soul wants vibration. And when you trust the soul enough to listen, you will hear it, not as sound, but as awakening. The breath is your gateway, but not just any breath. The breath that drops into the belly, where time slows and the body softens. The breath that spirals, not rises. The breath that listens as much as it moves. When you pair this breath with the remembrance of the sacred sound, your field becomes luminous. The aura expands. Old thoughts collapse. The body reorganizes itself around this core tone, like a spiral galaxy finding its axis again. Modern ears are not trained to hear this. They are filled with distraction, trained to scan, not to sense. But your heart has never forgotten. Even when broken, it still vibrates. Even when closed, it remembers. The mystical sound of Thoth does not enter through open ears. It enters through an open soul. And when it does, the very space around you responds, not with thunder, but with recognition. The ancients did not chant to ask. They chanted to command, not with force, but with knowing. Knowing that the universe is not deaf. It is responsive. The tones of R.A., the spirals of O.M., the echoes of this forgotten sound, all of them were crafted with mathematical elegance and emotional charge. And when you speak them from stillness, they act like sacred codes, unlocking dimensions within and around you. There is no need to strive. You do not reach for this sound. It descends when the vessel is ready. It flows through stillness, like honey through a golden bowl. But stillness must be honored. Not forced, not faked, but invited. The greatest spiritual technologies are useless without reverence. And the sound of Thoth will not reveal itself where the ego is loud. It comes to the kneeling heart, to the humbled breath, to the silence that waits without expectation. You are not just a person, you are a resonance. Your presence either harmonizes or distorts the field around you. The mystical sound is your tuning device, your original password to source. When it echoes within you even once, your energy signature shifts, and everything that doesn't match that signature begins to fall away, not through struggle, but through vibrational mismatch. It simply cannot remain. Thoth encoded this sound into the earth, the stars, and the human blueprint, in the geometry of the pyramids, in the rhythm of waves, in the silence between your thoughts, and most of all, in your breath. But breath must be conscious to become sacred. When you pair that conscious breath with intention and allow the vibration to rise, the body becomes a temple, the voice becomes a portal, the silence becomes a teacher. You may feel strange sensations when the sound begins to awaken. Pressure behind the brow, heat in the spine, tingling in the hands, a pull toward stillness. These are not side effects. They are evidence. Evidence that the geometry of your field is shifting. That you are no longer just absorbing energy, you are radiating it. Broadcasting coherence into chaos. Light into shadow. Remembrance into amnesia. You've lived lifetimes trying to force reality to respond. But the soul does not beg. It resonates. It doesn't explain itself. It emits truth. When you remember this, you become untouchable. Not through walls, but through frequency. Not through hiding, but through vibrational authority. That is what Thoth offered. And it was never meant to remain buried beneath dust. It was meant to awaken. So, breathe. Deeper. Slower. Let the outer world dissolve. Just for a moment. Listen. Not for sound, but for the subtle shift. The holy tremble beneath your ribs. That is the door. And once you feel it, it will never close again. You are not broken. You are simply out of tune. And this is not a flaw, but an invitation. An invitation to remember the original sound that shaped you. The sound that called your soul into form before there was a name, before there was pain, before there was even time. This is the mystical sound of Thoth. Not a chant to be memorized, but a frequency to become. And the moment you let go of trying to find it, it begins to rise on its own. Most spend their lives echoing the sounds of others. Opinions, trauma, culture, systems. But those are echoes, not tones. Echoes bounce, tones build. The sound of Thoth is not reactive. It is a creator frequency. When it pulses through your field, you no longer ask for permission. You simply resonate. And everything around you either tunes itself to your signal or fades into static. This is the real alchemy. Not turning metal to gold, but noise to clarity. When Thoth whispered this sound into the silence of the early world, he knew it would sleep for ages. He knew it would wait until the chaos became unbearable, until the soul, weary of distortion, cried out, not for noise but for truth. And now that cry is echoing across the earth. Quietly, fiercely, in people like you. The mystical sound does not cure you. It reveals you. It peels away the layers of what you are not, until what remains is a raw, radiant coherence. You do not need to be fixed. You need to resonate. And resonance only happens in truth. That is why this work cannot be rushed. It must be received. Received like a gift you forgot you already owned. The body is the speaker. The heart is the amplifier. But the soul is the source of the tone. When these three align, your voice becomes an instrument of creation. Not just your literal voice, but your energetic presence. Your vibration speaks on your behalf, long before your words arrive. People feel you before they hear you. And when the mystical sound has been reawakened within you, your presence changes room. You begin to remember how sacred you are. Not in concept, but in charge. In frequency. You feel more, see more. Your nervous system, once reactive, becomes responsive. Your thoughts, once scattered, become clear. This is not magic. This is what happens when distortion leaves the field, when the original signal reclaims its space. Do not expect the world to understand you when you begin to vibrate differently. Most are still living in static. They will feel something shift, and they may not have words for it. They may pull away, or they may draw near without knowing why. It doesn't matter. You are not here to be understood. You are here to remind the sleeping ones of their original song. And what is this sound, really? Not a syllable, but a soul signature. Not a chant, but a living pulse. You don't repeat it, you anchor it through your choices, through your breath, through your being. You are the instrument. You are the temple. You are the gate. And this sound, it is the key. Even now, if you soften enough, you may feel it stirring beneath your ribs. Not loud, not sharp, but steady, ancient. Trust it. Breathe into it. Let it lead. It will not take you where you want to go. It will take you where you were always meant to return. There is a sacred intelligence beneath sound, deeper than tone, older than language. It moves not in linear time, but in spirals. Thoth understood this spiral. He watched it flow through galaxies, through DNA, through the coils of the serpent and the breath of awakened man. He did not teach with instruction. He taught with geometry, with vibration, with remembrance. And at the center of it all was this one sound, seeded into the silence of the willing. To awaken it is to return to the center, not just of your body, but of your field. When you enter this center, you become untouchable, not in arrogance, but in stillness. The noise of others cannot reach you there. It dissolves before it finds form. You walk in chaos, but chaos cannot walk in you. This is the power of resonance. Reclaimed, not to escape life, but to command its frequency from within. The world will try to convince you that awakening comes through effort, through discipline, through mental mastery. But the sound of Thoth does not respond to force. It responds to purity, to simplicity, to the quiet moment between breaths when you finally stop reaching and start receiving. This is the secret. Awakening is not an ascent. It is a return. A return to the note you were born singing but forgot how to hear. Even now, the air around you is listening. The cells in your skin, the spaces between your thoughts, they are listening, waiting, because they remember. The bones carry memory. The blood remembers light. The breath is the bridge, and when the mystical sound rises, all of you comes home. All the scattered parts return to coherence, and the energy that once leaked from your field begins to radiate instead. This is why you don't need more knowledge, more practice, more tools. You need less noise, less opinion, less identity. The mystical sound of Thoth does not speak to who you think you are. It speaks to who you were before you knew how to speak. It calls the soul, not the mask. And when the soul answers, the illusion begins to fall away like dust from an ancient scroll. You'll feel it in your body, not as adrenaline, but as sacred stillness. Not as excitement, but as clarity. The spine aligns. The jaw softens. The heart steadies. You're not becoming enlightened. You're becoming whole, and this wholeness is the prerequisite for power, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that illuminates. As this vibration strengthens, you'll begin to notice strange things. Technology might glitch around you. Time may slow. You'll know things without knowing how. These are not accidents. They are confirmations. Confirmation that your frequency is shifting. That the sound is not just within you. It is guiding you through subtle threads, through intuitive nudges, through doors that open not because you forced them but because your tone matched the key. This is what the ancients meant by speaking in tongues. It was not about foreign words, it was about divine frequency, a way of speaking reality into alignment through resonance. And now it's returning, not through religion, but through remembrance, through you. Because you are ready. You wouldn't be here otherwise. So take another breath, a real one, into the belly, into the silence. Let it echo. Let it rise. And if you feel even the faintest shimmer of that sacred tone within, honor it. Speak less. Listen more. Move slowly. Because something holy has begun. The mystical sound of Thoth is not just vibration. It is instruction hidden in tone. It doesn't teach you with ideas. It reorders your system through resonance. It teaches your cells how to align. It teaches your spirit how to stand tall in your truth. And it doesn't require a book, a temple, or a title. Only a willing vessel. And now that you've entered this current, it will continue to pull you toward your original design. As your field attunes to this sacred sound, the distortions within you begin to rise, not to punish, but to be released. Old fears surface. Ancient grief stirs. These are not regressions. They are purification. The sound is shaking the dust off your soul, not to break you, but to reveal the pattern underneath. You do not have to fix the pain. You only have to stay present as it moves through. Vibration does the rest. You may cry for no reason. You may feel tired or wildly alive. You may feel like you are shedding skin you didn't know you wore. This is all part of the recalibration. When the sacred tone resounds within you, it flushes everything that cannot harmonize. The deeper the silence you hold, the clearer the sound can echo. And the clearer the sound, the brighter your field becomes. The world around you may begin to rearrange. People may fall away, paths may close, but others will open, smooth as light through water. This is not coincidence. It is the sacred sound doing its work. It is organizing your outer life to match your inner alignment. This is not a curse. It is a gift, a holy reshaping, a divine architecture, emerging from the formless. Thoth knew that most would fear this stage, that letting go of familiar distortions would feel like death to the ego. So he taught his initiates the posture of the serpent, to shed and rise, to trust the spiral. The mystical sound follows the path of the serpent through your spine, not to possess you, but to liberate you. You were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to evolve through sound. And what happens when the sound completes its spiral? When it reaches the crown, the mind softens. The boundaries between inner and outer blur. You no longer think of yourself as a being among beings. You feel yourself as frequency among frequency, waveform in a living field of light. You no longer act to be seen. You move because the vibration within you calls for movement. This is divine flow, not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of resonant guidance. The mystical sound doesn't remove obstacles, it makes you vibrate through them. Like water through stone, like light through shadow. You become a force that the world does not understand, but cannot ignore. Stillness becomes your sanctuary. Silence becomes your amplifier. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Your vibration speaks louder than your voice ever could. And those who are ready will feel it. They'll come not because you shouted, but because you remembered, because you became a mirror of the sound they too are seeking. So trust the process, trust the shivers, trust the tears, trust the breath that suddenly deepens, the moment of quiet that feels too vast to explain. That's the field reorganizing. That's the sound finishing its circuit. You don't have to control it. You only have to stay open. Stay present. Stay tuned. You are no longer chasing alignment. You are becoming the frequency that attracts it. That is the gift of the mystical sound. Not escape. Embodiment. Not magic. Mastery. When Thoth sealed the sacred sound into the ether, he knew it could not be found through striving. It had to be received through readiness. And readiness is not about perfection. It is about willingness. A softening. A sacred pause in which the seeker becomes still enough to allow what has always been speaking to finally be heard. This is why the sound reveals itself when you stop searching and start surrendering. In this space, your body becomes a temple of remembrance. Your breath becomes an altar, and your intention, the most powerful offering. Not an offering of effort, but of awareness. When you give your full attention to the inner field, the sound stirs. It does not demand, it invites. It hums beneath the skin, beneath the noise, asking only that you listen with your soul. You may feel moments of deep void, vast emptiness that feels foreign to your thinking mind. Do not run from it. This is not nothingness. This is the pre-sound, the zero-point field, where all frequency is born. Thoth called it the mouth of creation, the silent origin before the first vibration. To rest there is to be reborn without moving. To enter there is to prepare your system for the single sound that can change everything. And when that sound rises, and it will, it comes not with drama, but with precision. It weaves through the spine like a golden serpent, straightening what has been bent, uncoiling what has been stuck. It does not heal by fixing. It heals by realigning, like a note that causes all others to harmonize. It calls your entire being back into coherence. This is why you've been feeling different lately, why the things that used to satisfy you no longer do, why your nervous system aches for peace, why your inner knowing is louder than ever. It's not a phase, it's a frequency shift. The sound is knocking, and it's not asking you to understand. It's asking you to surrender to the remembering. No external sound, no mantra, no chant can match what this one vibration does when it rises from within. You'll feel it as a pulse, like a second heartbeat. A warm surge behind the sternum, a tingling that isn't touch, but present. And when you sit with it, breathe with it, trust it, It begins to sing through your field. Not loud, not worded, just pure divine tone. Your life will begin to shift in quiet, mysterious ways. What once felt heavy will dissolve without effort. What once seemed far will draw near without force. You will not need to chase. You will not need to shout. You will vibrate, and the world will align in response. This is the sacred law of resonance, and the mystical sound of Thoth is its ancient key. Even those around you may sense the change. They may not have the language, but they'll feel the stillness in your presence, the clarity in your gaze, the sacred in your silence. You will speak less, but mean more. Move less, but cause more, because your very being will have become a channel of coherence. And in this state, you begin to fulfill your role. Not a job, not a title, but your vibrational assignment. You are not here to teach with words, but to transmit with presence. You are not here to repeat what others say, but to emit what only you carry. And that begins now, in this moment, in this breath, in the sacred remembering of the sound that made you. There is a moment when the sound fully settles into your field, not as something separate, but as your own inner origin. In that moment, you no longer wonder if you are aligned, you are alignment. You no longer ask the world to see you. You have become the light it reflects. This is the return Thoth spoke of, the reactivation of divine tone within the human vessel. The day your vibration stops chasing the world and begins creating it. You'll know you've reached this moment, not by a dramatic sign, but by a sacred quiet, a peace so deep it makes the noise around you irrelevant, a stillness so vast it holds your past, present, and future in a single breath. You'll sit inside yourself and feel the architecture of your soul like a living temple, rising, shimmering, breathing with source. And in that temple, the sound lives, not as echo, but as present. This mystical sound is not something to use like a spell. It is something to embody like a rhythm. Your walk carries it. Your choices sing it. Your gaze transmits it. You've become the instrument now. Every moment becomes an invitation to harmonize or distort. But now that you've remembered your original tone, distortion can no longer cling to you. It may approach, but it cannot stay. To seal this vibration into your field, anchor it with breath and awareness each day. Not with repetition, but with reverence. Breathe into your spine and remember. Speak only when your words carry your tone. Move only when your body echoes the pulse of the sound within. Surround yourself with environments that honor your vibration, not dilute it. Protect the stillness that lets the sound rise. It is your sacred inheritance. When chaos returns, and it will return deeper into the silence, let the mystical sound speak louder than fear. Let it guide your decisions, your timing, your energy. You are not here to avoid challenge. You are here to remain tuned within it. You are no longer responding to the outer world. You are recalibrating it from the inside out. If ever you feel lost again, come back to the breath. Slow, grounded, a single sacred inhale can bring the sound back online. One conscious breath, one remembered tone, can realign your entire timeline. The world may not understand this power, but the universe responds to it instantly. It always has, and it always will. You've been searching not for information, but for resonance. And now you have it. You are not a seeker anymore. You are a signal. The mystical sound of Thoth was never outside you. It lived in your silence, in your remembering, in the sacred space you just created by trusting this path. So, walk as the vibration, speak as the tone, rest as the silence. And know, this is not an ending. This is the beginning of your real alignment. You've entered the field where true creation begins, not with desire, but with frequency, not with force, but with divine harmony. The one who remembers their vibration never begs for reality to change. They create it.